Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjanashalakya Chaksharamilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Nama Shrishtam Manumapi Satchiputram Matra Sharupam Rupam Tasya Grajamuruparim Matarim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Gidivaram Maho Radhikamadhavasam Prapto Yasha Pratitha Gripaya Shri Gurum Tamnatasmi Vanchakalpataru Vyascha Kripa Sandhuvyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Nikhilashruti Mauli Ratnamaladiti Nirajita Padapankajanta Aji Mukta Kulairupasyamanam Paritashtam Harinam Samshrayami Anare Pitacharim Chidat Karunayavatarana Kalahu Shamar Paitamunnatosh Palarasam Savakti Shriyam Hari Purata Sundara Dyuti Kadamba Sandipita Sada Hridaye Kandaresh Purato Vasachinandana Ajanulambita Bujjo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaikapitaro Kamalaya Taksham Vishwambaro Dviyabaro Jugadharma Palo Vande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataru Ladini Shakti Swarupaya Gauranga Suridaya Cha Bhakta Shakti Pradhanaya Gadadhara Namastate He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Radhe Vrindavanadhi Karunamrita Vahini Kripaya Nija Padabja Dasyanmayam Pradiyatam Bhaktya Vihinaya Aparadha Lakshaya Kshiptashchakamaditarangamadhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanam Brinde Maste Charanarvindam Brinde Maste Charanarvindam Shri Sacinandan Gaur Hari Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai Shri Shri Gaur Nityananda Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Preman Hari Bol. Good morning, pranam to all of you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for the invitation to share still a few more words. Although sometimes it's better to stop talking and just appreciating in silence the greatest of Krishna consciousness, the greatest of Harinam Prabhu, especially after a very nice kirtan we have just been able to witness. I kind of feel inspired to not give a class and just cancel everything and just stay in silence, appreciating the glories of Harinam and all that comes from there. As our Goswamis explained, from Nam, everything has flourishes. Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila, the form of Krishna, the qualities of Krishna, the Lila of Krishna, all springs from the name, which in one sense is not different from Krishna, and in another sense is, if we want to establish one difference between the name and the named, is that the name is even more generous than the named. Rupa Goswami mentions that. So in one sense, Krishna himself worships his own name, considering this is so unique. So how much we are to worship Srinam. This famous beautiful lila where at one point Sri Krishna is inside the bower, the forest bower, the kunja, with Sri Radha and the gopis. And Sri Radha is in the mood of Swadhina Bhartrika, which means like how to say, independent lady love who is giving orders to the man, so to say. And Krishna is totally controlled by the love of Sri Radha. That's his favorite situation. Generally, Krishna is famous as being the supreme controller, but ultimately his favorite situation was his to completely bowing down at the feet of Sri Radha. That's the goal, the God we worship. We worship a God who bows down to love. For us, the goal of life is not God. The goal of life is love of God. Our goal in life is not Krishna. Our goal of life is Krishna Prem. It's Prem. What we want to attain is Prem. And Krishna's goal in his life is Prem also. He already has Prem, but he always can attain more and more Prem. So Prem is the goal of life for us and for God, which establishes it as the ultimate goal of life for everyone, unanimous. And so Krishna loves to bow down at the feet of Sri Radha. This is the famous line of Jayadev Goswami's Gita Govinda, Dehi Pada Palavam Mudharam. Once Jayadev Goswami is composing Gita Govinda, and at one point in his meditation, inspiration comes the call to write that line, which basically means Krishna is bowing down at the feet of Sri Radha, which nobody said that till that moment. So he himself was in shock with his inspiration. Like, no, is this legal? No, is this real? Is my mind? I'm speculating, or this should be put into the text? Because so far everything was really nice, but now comes this idea that I never heard it before from anyone. He's thinking Krishna is bowing down at the feet of someone else. Everyone is bowing down at his feet, but he's bowing down at the feet of someone else. Everyone is worshiping him, but he's worshiping someone else. That's the secret of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Srila Prabhupada once said that. Most religions teach God is the object of worship. We teach who is the object of worship for God. Krishna has his own altar. So anyhow, Jayadev Goswami was doubting, should I write this or not? Should I officially state that Krishna is bowing down at the feet of Sri Radha? See, I'll go for a walk. No. I'll relax my mind for a minute and go back and see what comes. Maybe I'm getting too concentrated in writing, and that takes me to write nonsense. So probably this is nonsense. I don't know. I'll go for a walk and return. As you may know, he goes. His wife remains at home, and she's prepared lunch. And when Jayadev Goswami returns, he sees his wife eating lunch. And he's like, why you didn't wait for me? What happened? And she looks at him and said, like, what are you talking about? You already had lunch like half an hour ago, and I'm having lunch after you. And so Jayadev Goswami is like, no, I went for a walk for the last hour, and I'm just returning. She's like, no, you came like half an hour ago. You had lunch. Now I'm having lunch myself. So Jayadev Goswami is in shock, and he looks at the distance where he left the palm leaves in which he was writing. He was thinking about writing this line that he didn't put into the text. He had left the palm leaves in a certain way, and now the palm leaves were in another way, like open. So he asked his wife, like, did you mess up with my palm leaves, so to say? And she said, no, I was cooking, I was serving you, and now I'm eating. Nothing to do with palm leaves. So now he's more shocked. So he gets closer to the palm leaves, and he says that in that place where he was thinking if to write this or not, Dehi Pada Palavam, the line was written. So then he realized, oh, Krishna himself came to my house in the form of myself to confirm that fact, and on top of that, to have lunch as well. He was hungry, he got lunch as well, but the main point was he came to confirm this fact. I was doubting, is it that Krishna bows down to the feet of Sri Radha or not? And Krishna came to say, yes. That's my favorite moment. Dehipada palava modaro. Bas. That's it. So there's this famous Leela in connection. I mean, I was not planning to say anything of this, but it's your fault for the kirtan you presented. So, so Krishna is bowing at the feet of Sri Radha, and the manjaris and the gopis are there, and Radha says, "Okay, now you decorate my feet." No, she's giving orders to Krishna. In the loving interaction, there is a place for that. Sri Radha enters into this mood of independent Nayika or heroine, and Krishna in the mood of Dira Lalita Nayaka, or like subjugated hero, is serving the Nayika, the heroine. All these are like static terms that Rupa Goswami used in his Ujjval Nilam. So Krishna is given paraphernalia to decorate Radha's feet and to paint with lac. So he receives like a paintbrush, you say, and the lac. So he starts to try to do something, but he becomes so ecstatic, that his hand starts to tremble. So instead of doing a relatively like aesthetic design, everything becomes like. So they are like. So the manjaris come, the intimate servants of Sri Radha, and they have this confidence that says, "Get out of here!" And they take the paintbrush. You don't know how to do this. We'll teach you. No. So now Krishna is taking lessons, painting lessons from the assistants of. So they start to show and look like this, okay? And Krishna's like very submissive, learning, taking his lessons. This is God Himself as a student. That's what Chaitanya Charitamrita says, no? Radhikar Prema Guru, Ami Shishya Nata. Krishna says through the pen of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Radhikar Prem Guru, the prem of Sri Radha is my guru, Krishna is saying. Ami Shishya Nata, and I am a student in the dancing school of her love. So Sri Radha inaugurated a school of prem, a school of love. It's a dancing school. Prem makes everything dance. And Krishna says, and I am a student in that school. He's not the headmaster. I'm a student. She's the headmaster. So she's learning the steps, the dancing steps of love from love personified, Sri Radha. So anyhow, the manjaris are teaching Krishna like this, and Krishna is like taking notes. Okay. And he's too ecstatic. He's too ecstatic. So eventually he is given a second chance. The paintbrush goes back to his hands. He starts to draw some design, but at one point he is like entering so deeply into a meditation of, these feet of hers are the goal of my life. I like to remain eternally as a particle of dust at her lotus feet, Krishna is feeling. But I cannot do that, Krishna says, no, because I mean, for practical purposes, I cannot just remain there forever. No, I have other devotees, I have other things to do. I would like to remain there. So what to do? Dilemma. No? So Krishna is like in that moment of what to do. He remembers something. He's in the middle of the Leela, but he remembers a point of Siddhanta. Siddhanta generally is not so overtly in the Leela. In the Leela, gopis and gopas are not preaching to each other. No, the scripture says like this, and we should do like that. But Krishna, Yogamaya makes arrangement for him for his omniscience to come to the foreground and remember one quote from Shastra, which have some. He say, Nam Chintamni Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Suddha Nityamukta Avinatham Namanamina. Krishna, remember, between my name and me, there's no difference. So if I'm not different from my name, I'll remain eternally at Sri Radha's lotus feet in the form of my name. So he starts to write his own name in the soles of the feet of Sri Radha. And at the end, Krishna remains eternally at her feet, and he concludes, wow, my name is more fortunate than me. No, I cannot be. The name is there. No, I'm in the form of the name. I'm more fortunate. I'm more powerful. No? So that this is making this important point that we over and over emphasize. No, the name of Krishna is more merciful, more fortunate, more gracious, and it's coming to us in such a generous disposition by, as we said the other day, this golden volcano of divine love called Sriman Mahaprabhu and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, as we were reciting a few minutes ago in the Mangala Charan, Gaur Nityananda, Ajanu Lambita Bhujo Kanakavadata Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalai. They are Sankirtanai Kapitaro. They are the fathers of Sankirtan. Kamalaya Takshu Vishwambaro Duyaguru Jugadharma Pal, the protectors of Jugadharma, Bande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavatar. I worship these two who are the friends of the whole world and the descent of divine mercy. Sri Sri Gaur Nityananda Ki Jai. So if we are here today, it's as a consequence of all this. No? So today I want to share a topic which in one sense may be unrelated to all the things that I said so far, but it's never unrelated. I mean, everything is interconnected with each other. And I like to talk a little bit on one of the different radicals from my Radical Personalism book. There's a second part of the book enumerates a different list of things that we are invited to culture in a radical way, go into the very root. And yesterday we talked about radical wholeness in the morning and radical
remark.
Thank you for the remark. And radical remark in the evening. No? So today I'd like to share a few words on one section called radical integrity, in connection to how to deepen our approach of what we call the regulative principles. And what are the regulative principles? Which in one sense we can also include, at least in certain Gaudiya societies, this is one of the main vows that devotees present, following regulative principles and chanting the name of Krishna in a certain way, a certain number, but in a certain and we are talking about the name of Krishna now. So, for example, I remember that Srila Prabhupada once said, if you chant 16 rounds and follow the 4 regulative principles, you'll go to Golok Vrindavan in this lifetime. Which sounds great, it's great. But also I think it's important that we understand what he means by that. At least for me, it's important, because I've heard sometimes devotees telling me, "Well, Maharaj, I'm chanting my 16 rounds. I'm following my 4 regs. I have my seat reserved there in Golok. I'm almost there. I'm there, because I'm getting to the numbers. I'm reaching the numbers, the 16, the 4. But it's an important point that we need to also consider is not only the quantity, but the quality. So if Prabhupada is saying 16 rounds, do you think he's referring 16 rounds of Nama Parad? Mm-hmm. I hope you don't conclude that. Mm-hmm. So when the number is given, certain qualities implied there. Because if I chant 16 rounds of Nama Parad, better I chant 1 round of Nama Parad, not 16. So to say, the more I chant, the more Nama Parad I'm committing. That's not taking me to Golok. So we have to be able to draw out the implications of the instructions of the Acharya. So if an Acharya tells us, chant 16 rounds, he means 16 rounds of Shuddhanam. Because for him, that's the holy name. That's the holy name. Nama Parad is not the holy name. And the same with the regulative principles. And I like to concentrate a little bit on that today, because sometimes we may feel, again, as I said the other day, we are doing those things, or sometimes maybe even worse, we think that the four regulative principles are about not doing some things. And we may start to conceive our practice in terms of not doing things. As I said the other day, what do you do in your practice? I don't eat meat, I don't take into, but what do you do? I don't do this and I don't do that. But your practice shouldn't be about not doing things, but about doing things positively. And that positive culture naturally creates anukulyasa sankalpa pratikulyasa varjanam. You accept what is favorable, and naturally, vairagya, natural detachment, comes from whatever is opposed to that. So, let me read the brief paragraph from my book in connection to this principle of radical integrity. And page 88, I have the PDF here. It's just brief. It says like this. Gaudiya concepts, like the well-known four regulative principles, should be fathomed in their full depth and possibilities, and not merely interpreted and adopted as literally as possible. On top of this, these four principles are not the ultimate litmus test to define one's standing in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but a set of human virtues that promote an integrated foundation for an authentic culture of divine love. We call this radical integrity. So, the four regulative principles. I have nothing against the four regulative principles, just in case. I'm following them, just in case. So this is not a presentation to justify not following them. Just in case, I make that clear. But sometimes we overemphasize these four regulative principles, I would say, to the point that we think that by just doing that, nothing else needs to be done. I'm not saying always in every case, but sometimes that may happen. And regulative principles, as we know them, are not necessarily connected with something transcendental, but have more to do with a series of human virtues to have our humanity in place, as I talked this day. The actual principles, these four pillars are in the Bhagavatam. You have the ahimsa, you have socham, you have tapas, and you have satyam. So truthfulness, austerity, nonviolence, purity. But someone can have all of those and be an atheist on some level, at least. If you understand those four on some level, someone can be non-violent, vegetarian, let's say, vegan, breatharian. Someone can practice celibacy, someone can whatever, so many things. And not necessarily be interested in transcendence on some level. So my point is, just doing that is not warranted that we don't need to do anything else. And also sometimes the overemphasizing of something takes us A, to think by doing that I don't need to do anything else, or B, if someone does not do that, is to be stigmatized more than he or she should be, so to say. And that takes us to overlook some other even more delicate faults that we may incur, but which are invisible, like envy, hypocrisy, so many things that are not gross, are very subtle. Nobody sees them, but are worse in one sense than, in my opinion, than, I don't know, drinking coffee or or whatever. No? And again, with this, I'm not promoting the other thing. I'm just saying there are degrees of things. I remember once one devotee went to Srila Bhakti Swami Maharaj, and he had been having some problems with one of the four regs. In this case, he was having problems with smoking ganja. And he was really sad about that. He was really suffering, because he didn't want to do that, but somehow he was doing that. So he came to Srila Siddhar Maharaj with a heavy heart, and feeling, the point is, he was feeling, I cannot be a devotee because I'm not following all the four regs perfectly. There's no place for me in this practice. You follow my point? So the overemphasis of this is what a devotee means takes you to think, if I cannot do this, then I cannot be a devotee. So he was losing hope in being in the possibility of being a Vaishnava. So he went with that heavy heart to Srila Siddhar Maharaj and trying to sincerely confess, so to say, I'm having this problem, and revealing his mind to a sadhu. And somehow, due to his own idea on the situation, he already had idealized what will happen, what will be Srila Siddhar Maharaj's reaction. And he thought, okay, he will reject me completely, he will kick me out of the math, he will tell me, there's no place for you in Krishna consciousness, become a Christian, become a Muslim, do something about it, but not here. No, no, you cannot be a devotee by doing that. So he came with that and presented the case and said, Guru Maharaj, I'm having this problem. I'm still smoking marijuana, and I know I shouldn't. I know I'm breaking one of the four regs, but I don't know. It's getting difficult. some scars are there, whatever. I want to stop, but I need help. I can, and I feel I cannot be devoted. So, and so let's say, oh, smoking marijuana, oh, that's not a big thing. He said, no. Vaishnava aparad is much worse. So you continue chanting, continue associating, and gradually that will go away. That was his reply. Totally relaxed. And again, with this, he was not doing like promoting, continue doing the thing, but just he also, I imagine, he could felt this guy is about to leave the whole thing altogether. And he needs support, he needs affection, he needs hope. And also he needs to understand, smoking marijuana is nothing in comparison to the power of the holy name, to give an example. Because sometimes we end up giving more power to our anarthas than to the mercy of Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. And that's a way of also being self-centered. Like, I have this problem and I'm like this, and I have this anartha, and we make it like omnipotent. We make it so big, so big, so big, that we lose sight of the power of the mercy of Guru, Vaishnavas, Mahaprabhu. And we think, no, my anarthas are more powerful than God's grace. It's like, no, they are not. As I like to say, if you put all your anarthas together in one condensed snowball on one side of the scale, and you put Mahaprabhu's grace on the other side of the scale, who do you think will win the competition? Hopefully you don't conclude my anarthas are more powerful than Bhagavan. No, those are a joke. If you are humble and you remain open to the grace and the power of the mercy that is coming, all those anarthas will be gone in time eventually. So we have to have that trust. We have to have that hope. If not, from which place we will be practicing? Just thinking, I have to overcome all this by my own effort, alone. As I mentioned, sometimes we can follow strictly all the regs in another case, but we can be failing in something more fundamental, like Vaishnava Aparad. There's this other famous story from one devotee. This is in connection to Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, another god brother of Srila Prabhupada. And once one devotee, he was a Western devotee, but he was mistreating devotees at one point. So Srila Puri Maharaj knew about this, and he was very much cautious about Vaishnava Aparad, very much respectful of everyone. And he called this devotee and told him, you joined Krishna consciousness. Before that, you were eating meat. That was not good. Now you stopped eating meat. That is good. But now I heard that you are mistreating Vaishnavas. So now you are eating the meat of the Vaishnavas. I would prefer that you go back and eat meat instead of doing what you are doing. Like making the point. Okay, you are a vegetarian, great. But if on top of that you engage in Vaishnava aparat continuously, that's worse. No? So in one sense, you were before meeting the devotees, you had your problems. Now you met the devotees, you solved those problems, but you can engage in bigger problems also that can happen. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes in Madhurya Kadambini 4 types of anarthas. One of those is called Bhaktiyuta anartha, which means anarthas coming from bhakti. Not because bhakti brings anarthas, but bhakti can create situations, like let's give an example. You engage in bhakti. Before engaging in bhakti, you were struggling with whatever, ganja, to give an example. You come to bhakti, and in this case, you are not still struggling with ganja. You can overcome that. Okay, so that's aside. But now you start to get educated. You receive knowledge. You receive acknowledgement. You receive followers. You receive praise. You receive position, and you start to get addicted to all of that. You didn't have that before meeting the devotees. Now you have it, and you got attached to that. You have a new anartha coming from bhakti. Not that bhakti gave it. Bhakti gave that byproduct of knowledge, but you got in a wrong way attached to that. You have a new anartha that you didn't have before, which may be more difficult than the ganja you overcome in the beginning. You follow my point? So we have to be cautious and humble. We shouldn't have like how to say, an arrogant certainty, like now I'm ready devoted, so I don't have more anartha, I don't have anything to no, we have to be very, very honest, very refined. So I was saying this point, that in connection to the 4 regulative principles, sometimes overemphasizing that can take to become like develop this certainty, excessive certainty, that I'm already doing that, so I'm saved, I don't need to do anything else, I just will hang out for the rest of this lifetime till I have to give my last breath and straight to Golok. Or if someone is for some reason struggling with that, he has fallen down. I don't like that expression personally. And I get the point that we can use expression, but sometimes we use expressions that were said in a certain way, and in time a lot of implications got added to those expressions that were not originally. Like I said yesterday, apparat. Sometimes we say, oh, he's an apparati. And for many nowadays, it's like, that's a heavy label. No? Apparati. No? Like a branding. Like a tattoo. Apparati. No escape from that label in this lifetime. Sorry. But technically speaking, in one sense, probably we are all apparatis. No. The scriptures say, if you chant the name and your heart is not melting and you are not rolling on the ground in ecstasy, that's probably because of an apparat. So, okay. Or the idea of falling down. They say, oh, he fell down. And it's like, like I remember once one devotee told me I like that. He said, sometimes the devotee say, I fell down. But I will say, sometimes I stand up because I'm always falling down. But not falling down because I'm breaking the regs. I'm fallen. I'm patita. No? Bhagavan is patita pavana. To be fallen doesn't only mean to break the 4 regulative principles. No? To be fallen means to be in need of mercy. To be fallen means to still have conditioning, to still have doubts, to still go through so many things that probably we still go through. So I think we have to normalize our fallen condition in that sense, not to remain there, but also not to very easily think, when we say he has fallen down, basically I imply I have not fallen down. Yeah, maybe you have not broken that regulative principle, which doesn't mean we are not falling in so many other ways. So, yeah, for me, falling down will be you are leaving the path altogether, you are becoming offensive, you are becoming opposite to everything. But to lose one battle, I won't consider that falling down. Because sometimes, again, the idea of falling down has this like sense of permanence. He fell down. But what if the person stand up and continues? No, you lose one battle of many. Still, you have so many battles to go. If you continue to strive humbly, as we said the other day, yesterday we quoted that verse where Krishna defines who is a sadhu. A sadhu is someone who, even if he or she behaves terribly bad, falling down, he's sincere about that and wants to worship me with all her heart. For me, that person is sadhu. Sadhu rima samamtavya. So, also regarding the four regulative principles, of course, and regarding what I quoted from Prabhupada in the beginning, if you do that, you reach Golok. Again, this implies to do it in a certain way. And I'm sure Prabhupada does not only want you to chant 16 rounds and follow four regulative principles. He wants also you to study Shastra, to serve the Vaishnavas, to do so many other things in such a way that you develop a very specific desire to serve Radha and Krishna in a certain way in Golok. And that gives rise to your spiritual identity. And only in that case you are there. If I'm just chanting 16 rounds following the four regs without failing, but I have no clue what's my affinity, how I would like to offer myself in service. It's not that I will leave my body without having a clue about that, and suddenly I'm in Golok Vrindavan, and they welcome me and say, okay, you are in department number 108. You have been assigned Sakyarasa. So you, okay, over there, okay. It doesn't work like that. No? If you study Shastra, it doesn't work like that. No? If you study the stages of bhakti from Shraddha to Prem, at one point of your practice, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prem, the service disposition you will offer to Krishna in eternity will become more and more clear and manifest, and naturally you are there. Even in this body, we are already inhabiting your spiritual body at certain point. So I think it's important, because it doesn't make sense. Like, I have no clue how I want to serve Krishna, but I will go to Golok on the end of this lifetime. No, we have to. If we are chanting 16 rounds of Sudanam, Srinam will reveal all that, and I will have that idea. So that's an important thing. It's not just like a mechanical formula. Like, I have the right numbers, 4 regs, 16 rounds. Okay, equal Golok end of this lifetime. Krishna is forced to give me that. No, it doesn't work like that. It's not even on my own merit. No? It's not a meritocracy. But it's only depending on my effort. It's depending on my effort and His grace. And as I mentioned, in the same way that we should think of chanting the name in terms of quality, not only in terms of a number. And remember, just in case, first thing Prabhupada said was chant 64 rounds. Then he adjusted to 16. So also we should be careful not to become overly attached to a number. And in some cases, I know, for example, just to understand how flexible and sensitive Prabhupada was. Now, this other famous story, there was a disciple of his, he just had a baby like 2 weeks before, and she was suffering a lot. Not because of having a problem with Gansha in this case, like the other devotee, but because she was not able to chant her 16 daily rounds. And she was really getting depressed. So she was even chanting less, the more depressed she got. So this news came to Prabhupada. So Prabhupada asked her, like, what's going on? Why you are so sad? Because I cannot finish my 16 rounds. Prabhupada immediately replied, but you had a baby, right? No, yes. Okay. So he's your rounds, he said. That was his reply. That's what we call common sense. Remember that word? it's on the verge of extinction. We have to protect that species. It's called common sense. I call it uncommon sense because it's not so common anymore. Uncommon common sense. We have Guru, Shastra, Sadhu. Please add to that triad, common sense. Because if we don't have common sense, we can create a cult, we can create madness, we can create neurosis, we can get depressed, dysfunctional, even quoting Guru, Shastra, and Sadhu out of context, without common sense. So, common sense. You had a baby. Of course, you don't have time for chanting. The important thing is you want to chant them. Even if you can't finish them, chant as much as you can, but you cannot neglect those youth. He's your rounds now. That's common sense. And we have to develop, as we say these days, Prabhupada wants each of us to develop our own common sense, our own sense of common sense. Practical, according to the necessity of the situation. Developing this intuition to know how to deal with situations in a flexible way. So in the same way as we are trying to understand the chanting of the name in terms of also quality and adjusting how to approach that practice depending on the circumstance, for regulative principles also should be approached in a deeper way. As I mentioned in my book, let's not limit the 4 regs to not doing something. To give the example that I gave in my book, no meat eating. No, that's not the regulative principle. That's an aspect of that regulative principle. The actual regulative principle is be vegetarian, or even let's go further, ahimsa, non-violence. Non-violence means non-violence not only related to my diet, because I can be vegetarian, I can be vegan, and I can be hyper violent with those who are not vegetarian. You follow? So non-violence in my diet is like an aspect that represents a wider principle of non-violence in every aspect of my life. Ahimsa means that. Ahimsa is not limited to my plate, but to my day, my life. And actually, in one sense, even ahimsa is not the principle, because still ahimsa is a negative way of saying it. I'm non-violent. What will be the positive virtue in that connection?
Caring, compassionate.
No? Yeah. Merciful, caring, compassionate, loving.
Ultimately sharing Krishna.
And so on. So the actual principle is not so much be non-violent, but be kind, loving, merciful, compassionate. And not only even that, but be as loving and kind as you can. Because you can also be like, okay, I'm being loving, but can you be more loving? Yes. Okay. So that's the actual regulative principle. So now try to see the difference from no meat eating to be as kind and as loving as you can. There is some difference there. No? The principle is not no gambling. It's not just avoid going to the Kati casino or something. No? Probably you don't have a casino here, whatever the case. No? I remember I said that in Mayapur, and I said, don't go to the Maharaj, we don't have a casino. You are talking about casino. You are tempting us to make a casino. No casino. Okay. But the actual principle is satyam, which is truthfulness. And it's not just truthfulness, be as truthful as you can. That's not the same as don't gamble. That's just one aspect. It's kind of using one example to represent the whole thing. In Sanskrit, that this is used very many times. Like to represent one thing, we speak about one aspect of something that is way bigger than that. So we should understand that, so we don't limit that to that single aspect. Because we'll say, no, I'm not going to the casino, but I'm not being honest in so many ways. I'm being duplicitous, hypocrite, and I'm breaking the regulative principle, technically speaking. Again, if I'm not being kind and loving, I'm breaking that regulative principle of ahimsa, so to say, or the principle of intoxication. It's not so much about do not take drugs. Again, I'm not promoting that stuff. I clarify once, but it's tapasya is the principle, and tapasya also has to do like do not engage in escapism. Intoxication actually has to do with escapism, like not being willing to confront reality as it is. Prabhupada like this term, as it is. Not only the Bhagavad Gita should be as it is, everything should be as it is. So we should be willing to confront life as it is, not to engage in escapism. Escapism can be taking substances or so many other things that we will do with the same intention. Social media can be escapism. You can become totally addicted to that. I will talk about that in a few minutes. That will be the fifth regulative principle. And we have to understand that the essence of that so we can extend the application of these ideas to other things that may start to come in the way in modern society and that may get affecting our practice. So as you can see, these ideas that I'm trying to share are not so much, are not a watering down of the four regulative principles, but on the contrary, I'm making it more difficult. But at the same time, hopefully more realistic. I mean, to widen our understanding of what does it mean to follow the four regulative principles, to be as loving as I can, as merciful as I can, as less escapist as I can, as truthful as I can, as pure as I can, and all these virtues. And there's no limit to how much we can develop these virtues. So we should be very careful not to be conclusive about I'm already following the four regulative principles, because that will mean I'm being as loving and caring as I can, I'm being as truthful as I can, and you are not given space to grow in that. So probably next time if someone asks you, you can say, I'm trying my best. Of course, everyone may think, oh, what does it mean? You are smoking, you're going to the casino. So then you have to give them the link of this class and they will understand what you're talking about. Anyhow. And on top of that, I also like to think, apart from trying to deepen our understanding of the four regulative principles as we are doing, we can invoke on top of these four regulative principles, which in one sense still, as I say, had to do with being human, and as I say these days is very important. We have another set of four regulative principles given by Mahaprabhu. And these are connected to our practice of bhakti, our chanting of the name. And these come in the third verse of Sikshastakam. So we have four other set of four pillars: Sunichina, Sahishnuna, Amanina, Manadina. So those are our devotional four regulative principles, so to say, in complement to the other four regulative principles. The humility, the tolerance, the respect, the unassertiveness, that we should express kirtaniya sadahari, in chanting the name. And in chanting the name doesn't mean just, when I chant my japa, I will be very humble. It's you in your room chanting. You have no challenge. It's easy to be humble there. I will be very tolerant. You have your couch, you have your incense, everything is paka. More tolerant than a tree. The real test starts when you wake up from your asana. You open your door and your wife is waiting on the other side of the room. Your husband is waiting with a laundry list of stuff to do and some things that radical remarks, as we say yesterday. And that sunichina, sahishnuna, amanina, in our relationships, how we deal, that's when we are thrown into the fire of how much we actually want to embrace these principles. Because if not, we can develop our unrealistic, idealized idea of, I'm super humble and tolerant and respectful, but I'm just in my bubble and I'm not relating to anyone. So we need to to expose ourselves to healthy interactions and see where we are. No? A sincere devotee wants to know where I am. See, I don't want to cheat myself thinking that I am in this situation in this stage while actually I'm somewhere else. I want to be put to test so I know where I am. Even if it's embarrassing to realize where I am, at least I know where I am. At least I'm not cheating myself. And from that real place of where I am, I can progress to where I would like to be. That's how I personally interpret this famous verse of Kunti Devi. Jad Vipadam to Sat Sasvat Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru and so on. She's asking for Krishna apparently for more and more problems. No, it's not that she's masochist or anything like that. But I like to think she's asking Krishna, send me tests. Send me situations where I will be put to test, so I will see where I actually stand, and I can pray for your mercy in a more realistic way, in a more honest way, from where I am, actually, not from where I think I am. So I think if we are honest, it's nice to be willing for that, even to pray for that. Krishna, send me situations to my life that will show me where I am. I don't want to cheat myself thinking I am in a place I'm not, I have attained something. I want to see where I am. From that, I can progress honestly, realistically to my goal. So those 4 regulative principles are important. And I was talking about Sahishrana, Sunichrana, and so on. That's to talk about that third verse requires a separate visit to New Zealand, minimum, a little bit more than that. But there's so much in this third verse that in one sense, this third verse of Shikshastakam is more important than the Maha Mantra. And what do I mean by this? Because that verse is giving us the spirit to engage in chanting. If you don't have the proper attitude, the chanting won't bear fruit. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can chant the name for millions of lifetimes and don't achieve prem. Still do not attain divine love. Just to make the contrast with Prabhupada saying in this lifetime you attain that. What did he mean by that? So Krishnadas Kaviraj will say, if you chant the name without following the third verse of Sikshastaka, you can go lifetime after lifetime and the goal is not coming, because it's about chanting with a certain mood, with a certain attitude. And again, it's not only about the chanting, but how can I lead my lifestyle. It's not that I chant again, Krishna, I'm humble and open the door, leave my japa mal, and I'm like the opposite of that to everyone else. So to be aligned more and more with our thoughts, with our words, with our acts. So many times we hear this Tanu Vak Manovir, words, body, and mind in service. In the beginning, those 3 are a little bit like out of sync. We think something, we say something else, we do something else. We don't say what we think, and we don't do what we say. Sometimes that happens. We still may be a personified contradiction. Again, it's okay. It's not to feel embarrassed. It's part of the messiness of being a sadhaka and being on the, as one friend of mine said, the beauty and messiness of the sadhaka's life. Not to remain there forever, but also to, that's part of the process. But gradually, that's the idea. No? What I'm thinking, I'm saying. What I'm saying, I'm doing. No? Alignment. So gradually reaching to that point. A few more words and I'm concluding, if you allow me. And this again requires a separate lecture, but I just want to say something regarding this 5th regulative principle that I mentioned before. Going back to the original 4, there's this 5th one in relation to what to do with social media, what to do with the internet, what to do. I mean, I'm not against that. I have my social media. You know about that? We are friends in Facebook now. I have a new friends in Facebook from a few days ago. So I'm not against that, but we can be breaking all the other 4 regulative principles in social media. And nobody will know because it's all in our cell phone, between me and my cell phone, between me and my pocket. That's even more tricky, because all that is happening in my pocket, so to say, and nobody knows. I mean, nobody knows. Krishna is in my heart. The most important person knows. Mm. So we can break all these principles in many more ways that we may have thought about decades ago. Decades ago, there was no something called social media. I remember when I tell the devotees that when I joined the ashram, I was 1999. There was no social media. And they look at me like I just an alien landing from Mars or something, no? Or coming from Treta Yuga. No internet? How could you survive? I still wonder how we still survive with all the madness going on there. so we can be, I mean, let me give you a few examples of that. Again, one of the principles was be as kind, as loving as you can, be non-violent. You can be so violent in social media. I've seen some threads that are like, as we say yesterday, we have our own online inquisition and crusades. No, we don't have crusades as Christianity had, but we have our own crusades and inquisition in online threads and mistreating each other and blaspheming and criticizing, and like, that's violent. That goes against the principle. You are breaking the regs in that moment. Or I don't know, intoxication. I mean, you can become addicted to social media. You can become addicted to these dopamine peaks that you have with the how many likes I receive per day, how much validation the world gives to my latest post. No, it's an addiction. It's like a substance. I mean, you take certain intoxicants, and that creates certain chemical effect in your brain, which is exactly the same thing that happens with social media. So how much you can make a difference? If someone says, okay, I don't know, that person is snorting cocaine, and that creates this peak in his brain, and basically the similar chemical effect happens with certain degree of social media addiction. So how much you can make a difference between the two, if the intoxication effect is basically the same? But sometimes we stigmatize one thing and we normalize the other, so to say. And again, this is something new. This was not in the Bhagavatam, because there was no social media at the time. But we need to sort out how we deal with that. Because again, we can be breaking all the regs without nobody knowing that. There's one comic I once saw that the guru was initiating the disciple and saying, okay, what do you promise for initiation? And the person said, like the 4 regs. And then the guru says, and no Facebook. And the disciple is like freaking out. Like, I'm leaving my guru right now. So, yeah. Or I don't know. One other of the principle is, again, truthfulness, satyam. But many of us may end up using social media to give a false image of ourselves to the world, an unreal image. Even on aesthetic level. With all the other day, someone gave me a phone. I never had cell phone in my life, and someone gave me a phone in India a few months ago to have hotspot for my computer, because if not, I will be like basically out of touch with everyone. So it was first time I had a phone. It was strange. I must tell, I was intimidated. And at one point, I was okay. I will take a few pictures of the place I'm visiting. And so I was kind of inspecting, like the picture. I mean, it felt like I was a dinosaur, like moving like this, and there was this picture, and I took a picture, and I saw these options, and I said, "What's that?" No, and I started to go to these filters that you can transform basically everything. No, that you can like make yourself a little thinner, like whatever, and clean this. And I was like, "What's this? What's going on?" But for some people, that's a daily affair. No, it's one selfie per day, and then 3 hours of production, so to say, and showing myself to the world as I am not, but trying to sell that picture, to that image, to everyone, and convince them that I am that picture. that's not truthful. You are breaking the regulative principle of truthfulness through social media. That's worse than going to the casino. You follow my point? So I'm saying this so we develop more like capacity to detect those things even outside of the normal ways we used to think, how you break the principle, how you follow the principle. So, and what to speak of course, of the beyond the principles, the alienation that sometimes these technologies create. Again, I'm not against, I'm having my laptop in front of me, I'm streaming live. We are trying to engage in yukta vairagya, but also technology, as everything, technology is an aspect of material energy, a very subtle, refined expression of material energy. And we have to, with any other aspect of material energy, we have to approach it respectfully. With respect, no, not with familiarity, like this won't affect me. It's okay. I know how to deal with that. No? We have to be very careful and respectful to not end up being entangled with that. Because if not, we can become very easily distracted, addicted. And if you don't believe me, you try not to use it for one day. I know it sounds a lot, one day, but one day or a week, and see what comes. No, cold turkey will come. But as I like I did in podcast with Nam Rasa last year on this topic, actually, the fifth regulative principle, we call it, Bhakti on social media, and we were joking like, well, better you don't get too much attached to social media because there is no internet in Golok Vrindavan. So if you want to go there, just for you to know, there is no Instagram, no Facebook, no TikTok, no YouTube. So better you are using it, but you are ready to let it go when the moment comes, because you don't find that there. There's another technology there called divine love. That's the ultimate technology. And as I like to say, we have to live our life in such a way now that it's a sustainable lifestyle in eternity. So I have to live my life in such a way now here that when I invite it to eternity, I'm okay. It's not so different, so to say. And if I have to let go a few things, okay, but it has to be relatively aligned to that. If my life in here is like this, and my life in eternity goes there, that will be a little bit more difficult. So we have to be satisfied with the lifestyle, as I say, that is so plausible that will continue for eternity. That's the point. So natural, so organic. So anyhow, that's another conversation, but I wanted just to add a few reflections on the idea of this fifth regulative principle. Somehow or other, we have to figure out how we learn to interact with this realm of material existence, so we don't see our integrity compromised and our relationships remain deep and personal. I'm all for radical personalism. Sometimes technology doesn't facilitate that. No, it makes us like handicapped to be able to have face-to-face conversations many times, because we forgot what it means to have 3D open, vulnerable human connection. So we have to balance it, to know how to use everything in Krishna's service, but to be very honest about when that stops being in Krishna's service and becomes something else. Because we can always say, oh, it's in Krishna's service, Maharaj. Yukta Vairagya, Krishna's service. Okay, but you have to be introspective and see, is that really happening always, or sometimes it's just something else happening? So I leave it to you and to me as well. Each of us have to do our own swadhyaya, our own self-study. But a few words today about this concept of radical integrity and how we can deepen our understanding, not only of the four regulative principles as we talk, not only about the fifth regulative principle, but even about chanting of the name and our practice and our life in general. So I'll stop here. And Trivikram Prabhu will start here now. He raised his hand.
in them.
Yeah, if you have questions or comments, please.
I was just thinking on that last point, how much, for me at least, it highlights the profound significance of Prabhupada's aspiration to create self-supporting communities, because if you want to go it alone on your own in this secular world we live in, they've made every provision to only be able to live like that. You've got your independence, you got your phone, you can do your banking, you can have all your entertainment all there independent of anyone else. But there's, like you say, become debilitated in that capacity to going one-on-one anymore. And there's all the related aspects of that that basically mean that we've regressed so far that even our basic functionality is not so simply achievable in more of the old style of approach. So therefore I'm just kind of expressing how I can see the significance of a self-supporting community, because it just, it has more components that are going to by chance enable us to be able to, live in a integrated way with other people in a much more grounded and real way. Yeah, anyway.
A reply to that is yes. That was my shortest answer ever to you said it all, so I don't need to add anything. Yeah, thank you. I agree.
Not so simple to do though.
Yeah, of course. But worthy of trying.
Well, especially in light of your comments on, where this other technology leads us. It just really gives you more of a wake up as there's probably more of a relevance than we actually believe there is, and so therefore it's probably worthy of more attention and more effort.
Yeah, we have to be aware of, because let's be honest, I mean, those who create all these social media platforms are not created them with the intention of you attaining enlightenment. No, so it's not coming from a well-wishing, loving place. So at least you have to be aware this is designed for certain purpose, and I'm here trying to use it for another purpose. But as long as I forget what's the original purpose, it's easier to fall into the original purpose for what the thing was created and not realize it. So it's always important to keep that awareness and keep that healthy detachment in the sense of not stopping using something, but taking enough distance from that to see it for what it is. That's for me detachment doesn't mean I stop looking at you, but it's I take enough, like my hand, I give the example, my hand in my eye, this too close, I cannot see it, so I need some detachment, some distance. Now I can see what's the hand about. So the distance is to appreciate everything for what it is. If we are too engrossed in something, we lost sight of what's that actually about. So with technology, that happens a lot. We become completely like entangled, and we lost sight what's actually going on. And as you mentioned, we may think, "Oh, I'm so independent. I'm getting everything so easily, so accessible," but we are losing so many forms of independence in other ways. No, so many of our main faculties of relationship, communication, attention span, memory. That's another chapter altogether. And again, I don't want to sound like apocalyptic, like, oh, Maharaj, come on. No. Don't be angry with me by saying that, the younger generations. But I think it's important that we remain engaged with that, with consciousness, with awareness. No, I'm not saying do not do that, but I've recently read a few books on that, and of course they're scary. They speak about what internet is doing to your brain, basically. It's one called The Shallows. What it literally is called The Shallows, what the internet is doing to your brain. And again, it's scary in the sense of it's doing a few things. No? If you really are not aware and you're engaging with that without discrimination and discernment. So after reading that, probably it's not that you will stop using everything, but you will be more like, okay, I have to be more awakened to this situation, because there's another one called digital minimalism. That's also interesting. No? It gives food for thought about this, because if not, we just take the product and consume it without giving a second thought, and we become puppets basically of a lot of things that we don't know that are going on. No? So we don't want to lose our, what's the word that I yesterday said that I don't know how to pronounce it, sovereignty.
Yeah.
Okay, no, so we have to keep that. I'm totally sure if Prabhupada will be here, he will speak so much about this topic. Because he will probably add it to the 4 regulative principles, literally. No, let's put a 5th, because this is the problem. No, I mean, and I'm not going to many of the avenues that happen with these things. No, pornography, that's a huge problem that happens for most people. I mean, I was in India now. Again, that's a separate talk. I was in India. One devotee who lives there told me, Maharaj, you know what? 90% of Indian adult population consumes pornography. 90%, which basically means almost 100%. 1/3 of that 90% are women. I was like, what? Yeah. Just again, because you have everything in your pocket. It's just ting, ting, ting. Everything exact. Nobody knows. So creates this false sense of independence. No, false sense. If I can do it, I can control. Nobody knows. We are so weak in those situations. We don't have like many times like the integrity to, no, I won't do that. No. So we need to be educated and aware and cautioned, and know how to engage with these things that are more and more subtle. No? Now it's in the pocket. Eventually, it may be just in a chip here. In a few years, I mean, it's not even like 3 centuries. That's already going. And I'm not talking about AI here now. That's another conversation altogether. Artificial intelligence. Those things we should be talking about. We should be talking about Krishna Lila and Vrindavan. That's beautiful. But also we should be talking about some of the challenges that the world is facing, because we are there on some level. If we want to remain relevant to the people we are facing, we have to address situations that are relevant for the world. And if not, they will see us like, what are you talking about? No, you come with like a dysfunctional, evasive message without dealing with real issues in terms of, I don't know, even ecological issues and so many things, no, that we need to include in our narrative if we want to approach the world and be seen as grounded people, so to say. Yeah.
Maharaj, the regulative principles, are they something that we should take to the world? I mean, if we want the world to take to Bhakti.
Mm-hmm. What did you say at the beginning? The 4 regulative principles?
Yes, the 4 regulative principles. How applicable are they in all cases? I mean, my understanding was that Prabhupada initially wanted to create a Brahminical head.
Mm-hmm.
So the regulative principles, 4 regulative principles, are very applicable.
Mm-hmm.
But for the rest of the world,
Mm-hmm.
how much emphasis should there be on these regulative principles?
Mm. Well, what I will say is my opinion, of course. I'm not here saying how everything should do things. And of course, I'm not against the regulative principles again. But I will say that maybe it's not the best to start with that, but to basically present Bhakti, the positive side of Bhakti, and like make the thing more inviting to people to begin with. Again, not to tell, if you still eat meat, sorry, you cannot join, you cannot come. No, but come here, hear the Harikatha, chant the holy name, experience Kirtan, experience get to know our philosophy, have friendly relationships with the devotees, and of course we have to offer that. And I will say eventually the other things will fall into place. I'm not saying take that out of your presentation, but know when to introduce that. If someone comes from the first day and, okay, we do this 1, 2, 3, 4. Would you like to follow? That's what it takes to be a devotee. And the person is like, "Huh? With your permission, I have to go to the bathroom." Huh? And you hear the car. So, yeah, for some people that may be scary, especially if we don't know how to present them. Okay, if it's like too much like in your face kind of presentation. I will say that even what we are talking here today, at least for me, even if it's more challenging, the understanding of the four principles as I'm trying to present them may help for people to understand them in a wider way. Like, hey, we follow these virtues in life, truthfulness and love and care. And because we want to be loving and caring, one aspect of that is this. But it's not you start with no meat eating, but it's love and care. Doesn't make sense. I hope everyone will say, yeah, it makes sense. If you say no meat eating doesn't make sense, many will say, no, it doesn't make sense. I continue it. But if you try to emphasize love and care, and not only emphasize from the mouth out, but you are being loving and caring with that person. Because it's not just about love and care, but show love and care in motion. So the person will experience, wow, the person loves me and cares for me. So he's walking his talk, her talk, and that will inspire the person to embrace that naturally. Instead of stop eating meat. If not, you are wrong, you cannot be devoted, you don't have enough sukriti. Sorry. So I will try to emphasize more, this type of things to begin with. And again, not only in our discourse, but in our embodiment, embodying truthfulness, embodying love and care, embodying all this stuff. That will have such an impact that whatever eventually comes will make more sense. And even if someone cannot follow something for some reason, I will be personally, and again, this is my personal opinion. I know people will disagree. That's life happens. But even if someone is not able to follow some of the principles, I will encourage that person to continue practicing as much as they can. Trusting bhakti. That's for me more important. Trusting the power of the name. If the person is sincere, continue practicing, no problem. And I know in different Gaudiya societies there are different emphases. Like Prabhupada established the four regulative principles. But for example, in other Gaudiya societies, just to give a little bit of a broader perspective, almost in none of them they request that for initiation. It's not that they are not following that, but that's not like a requisite. Although it is assumed that they are doing that, but there may be cases that they are not. I don't know. I have not done a detailed research, but just also to have another perspective of things. And the principle there will be: you want to serve Krishna, you want to chant, you want to commit yourself, even if something is still there unsolved, it will be solved in time by the power of the name and so on. So there are different approaches. That's my point. I don't want to sound like this is the only way, so to say. I'm not a this is the only way person, because there are many ways. There are different ways to practice bhakti. There are different ways to attain perfection. That's my opinion. Again, I own my words. We may agree, we may disagree, no problem, but yeah. Something else? Yes.
Thank you very much for your class, Mike. You were saying that you were speaking about how we can always be more loving. We can be more compassionate, more accepting of others. And if someone is struggling, then we want to try and encourage them. We don't want to have them turn away from bhakti because they're feeling they're not accepted. So just wondering how to, because we also understand that sometimes there's a saying that our real friends will tell us the truth. They won't just tell us what we want to hear. So I was just wondering, could you say a little bit something about this kind of balance of these two things?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, somehow yesterday we talked a little bit about that in the evening when we talk on radical remark. We talk about the point of how a real friend will tell us whatever we need. I heard one quote, I think it's from Oscar Wilde. He says, like, a real friend will stab you from the front. Something like that. Stab you from the front, never from the back. Like implying, okay, they will tell you what you need to hear, even if it feels like, ooh, thank you. So yeah, I agree with the how I appreciate the question. The two things have to be balanced, and in one sense, the two things are not different at the same time, no? Because we are talking about being loving, being caring for others, and being confrontative in a loving way. Confrontation is not a bad word, no? Confront means something is put in front of me. That's it. It's not that I'm looking for a fight or something. It's like I'm showing something that maybe I don't want to see, and a real friend will say, "Look." No.
Because in the name of being compassionate, loving, we may not be being truthful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the opposite, no? In the name of being truthful, we are not being compassionate, right? Because I will show you the truth, no? And I like, and you are totally traumatized. But it was true. You have to accept the truth. Yeah, but the person, each one also has capacity to digest things, no? So we may need some installments, no, of that. It's not like everything right now, because everyone gets discouraged if I immediately told you the truth is this and the highest way of being a boat is this. None of you are doing that. That's the truth. I don't think you will be like, Jai, thank you, Maharaj. Gaur Haribo. So there is a way, as you mentioned, of the two things can be used for the wrong direction. To be compassionate, we may be like condescending, you say in English? No, like, oh, poor, no problem, continue, it's okay. No? And you may even like promote like a victim consciousness, not to make the other person feel like, oh no, it's okay, it's spoiling the child, so to say. No, like if like a parent, I imagine one has to be very careful how to navigate that. No? You don't want to spoil your child. You're always okay. No, but everyone is wrong but you, and no, it's not that. Sometimes you need to poke, no, in a loving way. There's one famous priest in Chile, in South America, and he will say that, no, that the real symptom of, I mean, we have to be, how do you say literally? I forgot the literal quote, but he will say something in that connection. Like we have to be poked as much as we can tolerate, something like that. Not like a over demand, but we need some poking. So again, there is no universal formula like you do this till this amount and this amount of this and this amount of that. That's the formula that works for everyone. Depending each case, you have to test. Now you have to test, okay, I'm being sincere, I'm being honest. Like I said yesterday, no, I want to offer constructive criticism to someone. Let's give that example that we gave yesterday. I have a friend, I want to be well-wisher to him, I want to be honest, he's my friend. Also want to be compassionate, I want to like over demand, I don't want to burn out my friend. I want to help. So I will share some remark. First, I will have to see, is what I will share his own stuff or is actually my own stuff projected? Because that can happen. It's his stuff or maybe it's both. he has something to solve, but I also have to solve the same thing. So I will be more cautious in telling someone something that I also have to work on. So, okay, maybe it's not my stuff, it's what you need to change. Why I'm telling, what's my intention? Why I'm going to my friend and remarking something? What's intention in my heart? I have to investigate that. I have to take some time before going to my friend, like, why I'm telling this to my friend. I want to be right. I want to develop a sense of superiority by contrast with the other person's mistake, or there's genuine well-wishing, care, compassion. And also, before going to point that remark, let me make in my mind a list of all the beautiful things that my friend has. So I put that into the scale also, not just you are this mistake that I'm pointing to you now. And I reduce you to that, but there's so many beautiful things. And because of that, I'm concerned about this particular thing. So let's work on it. And finally, this point of, okay, I'm pointing this to my friend. And I think that that's important in connection to your question. Okay, you are my friend. I love you. I want the best for you. And because I want the best for you, I'm poking you with this. But I'm pointing this thing to you, but I commit myself to accompany you in the process of working on that thing that I'm pointing to you. So I'm not leaving you alone with the thing that I'm pointing. I'm not telling you, hey, you have this to change, my friend. Please change that. Good luck. And I'm leaving. And it's like, okay, yes, it's true. Thank you. But you feel overwhelmed. But if your real friend is there, like, no, I'm seeing this. I'm your friend. I'm saying this with affection. You have to change this. Even with strong words, a friend can tell you that. But then you say, but you can count on me and I'm there with you for going on this journey. You are not alone. You have my support. So that's like, wow, I feel the affection of that person. So I think receiving that confidence and affection and support helps not to feel overwhelmed by the by whatever remark was done. So I think that's a big symptom of compassion also. Not only I point the thing, but I commit myself to be there with you in your process of working on that thing. And again, we may fail. Sometimes we may not be as sensitive enough. We may share too much truth to the other person. Sometimes we may fail in that. And we are open to learn. Maybe the other person may say, you know what? It was true what you told me. Thank you, but it was too much. Or at this particular moment in my life, it was too intense. I became too overwhelmed. So I appreciate your words. So maybe you received the feedback from the other person and, okay, thank you. And you adjust. And that's how we communicate with each other. We need back and forth. It's not just, okay, I throw you the thing, good luck, solve that out and see you next chapter or something. But it's just like, it takes time, and it takes lots of, how to say, of expertise to develop empathy and perception and know the other person. Because if I know, I'm assuming that, of course, your question and my answer is in the context of telling something to someone we know. Because if it is someone who just came yesterday to the program, I won't go and and tell them, like, because I don't know you. But if we know each other, we assume, okay, there is a trust, there is a confidence, we know each other, we can relatively know our limitations and even know our how do you say, Achilles heels, our blind spots. So I may know you and I may love you, but I know that certain things trigger you in a special way. So I will be careful not to trigger that too much, because I know that if that gets triggered, you won't be able to get anything of what I want to tell you. And it's not that you are bad, that you don't want to hear from me, but you just have that trigger, as I have mine. So also part of being compassionate sometimes is not just reminding the other person, you have this trigger, you still have this trigger. There may be a moment to talk about that, and there may be moments to navigate the trigger and not hitting on that too hard, because it gets in the way of the dialogue. So we will see that in practice, when we are communicating with each other, relating to each other with and get to know each other, in time we realize, okay, I cannot talk about that thing too much with that person, or in this way. It will take more time. First, I need to go, and the other person is figuring out hopefully the same things in relation to us. And that's how we get to know each other, and to also show that we love each other, because that's tapasya. No, that's not easy. That requires time and thought and empathy, and entering into the world of the other person and allowing the other person to enter your world. But at the end, it's worthy the effort. I don't know. I just can't speak for my own experience, and I have a few. I have lots of friends by Krishna's mercy, but I have a few very close, intimate friends that I lived with for more than 20 years. So imagine if you live with someone 20 years and still you haven't killed one another. That's something nice happened there. But I must tell, I mean, and we are so, I mean, I will say our friendship is like invulnerable, so to say. I mean, I don't want to sound proud. It's just like, it got so, we've gone through so much together, and but we spent probably thousands of hours talking, knowing each other, disagreeing with each other, fighting with each other, making peace. I mean, never to the point of thinking breaking the relationship, because we always knew it's not about the intention of anyone. It's just ego and stuff getting in the way, and we need to sort this out. And it's okay, let's sit 3 hours trying to figure out what's going on. And I know that for many of us, it's like, I'm not willing to do that. That's tapasya. Well, but probably then you won't have any significant deep relationships in your life. Everything will be flat and superficial and difficult to sustain in the face of challenges. So we need to invest ourselves, at least with a few persons, because we don't have too much time to talk thousands of hours with 300 people. But if you those people that are the most close to us. So that's for me a way of showing this compassion and saying what we need to tell, because these friends of mine, I mean, when they need to tell me something, they will tell it. There's no like, oh, he's Maharaj. There's no Maharaj. We are friends. We are brothers and sisters. So they have been the people who have talked to me strongly than anyone else. But they are my closest friends, so I feel the affection. It's like a loving thunderbolt, if you want to put it like. So it's compassionate, it's loving, it's caring, and it's strong. But I know the person, and they know me, so we know we can talk in this way, and we will appreciate that. No, it's not that you are my enemy. Why are you talking to me? No, so but it takes time, of course. It's not that the first day I met them we were talking each other like that. That took years. No? So I don't know if that makes some sense or helps.
No, very good. Yeah, and from that I got that, like, from the other side, the best thing for us, of our struggles, isn't it to seek to have the association of such friends that will point those things up to us, because the tendency, I guess, is water seeks its own level to surround ourselves with people that only agree with us 100% of the time. So I was kind of thinking how that all sort of like everything's tied in together. So I was just thinking about how we relate to the different devotees, whether they're senior or new, or like that, or friendships. And I feel like sometimes the hardest ways to relate for those who you have you feel like a more of a equal
yes
friendship. How to like not just always, like you were saying, that you spent so much time with these friends for 20 years or something, and you weren't afraid to have disagreements and work things out, and that was all not just always just agreeing with each other on everything and patting each other on the back, like so yeah,
totally agree. Of course, from these intimate friends I received the strongest criticism, but the deepest praise or affection also, no? So it's, but I agree with the point you mentioned. No? We can have relationship with seniors, juniors, and peers, and relationship with peers are the most challenging because they will treat us as peers. No? I mean, which is not bad, but it's not. With the senior, we were more like, okay, Maharaj, Gurudev, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's a certain relationship. With juniors, we are the senior, so to say, and it's. But with peers, there's a unique type of one-to-one connection that may be challenging in many ways, no? But it's very important, very important. I mean, all the relationships are important, but if you only have juniors and seniors and no peers, that can be dangerous. That can be a problem because we can be attached to, even to make a show of like, okay, with my seniors is like, with the juniors is like, just some mudras to symbolize. Well, with the equals, there is no this and this, no? It's like whatever, no? So so that's more challenging, but that's very necessary. And as you mentioned, it's important that we allow ourselves to open and relate with people that we have difference of opinion, difference of mood, because if we just like, and that happens a lot in social media. No, we sometimes just get along with those who think like us. And if someone I don't like, I block him. That's it. I don't need to deal with difference of opinion. Just I delete, block, and I just have my tribe. No, that validates whatever I think, and we validate each other. But it becomes so insular.
And
so
the algorithm is doing that as well.
Everything
right?
confirms,
suggesting everything,
validates it.
within that.
It gives your paradigm.
box.
It's a further confirmation. Your paradigm is all and in all, and when you find something that differs from that, it's like, my gosh, it's like the world is collapsing. Now I have to run away, or I have to attack, I have to block, because I lost all capacity to deal with diversity and difference of opinion. So we become completely non-nuanced. We lose all nuance, all capacity for critical thinking and interaction. So it's healthy. It's healthy to be with people we disagree with, in a healthy way, of course. Not just forcing yourself too much, but it's good. If someone has a difference of opinion, okay, it's challenging. It's inviting me to see from another perspective, but probably is what I need. So, and at the end of the day, nobody has the same opinion than anyone else. Even if we somehow are more similar, still we are different. And but I think that if a difference happens in the context of a greater unity, like for example, we are now here together, and all of us are different individuals, and even many of us are affiliated with different Gaudiya Vaishnava missions, or no mission at all in my case. So that's difference. That creates a difference. But somehow we are still here, not jumping onto each other's neck, and we are coexisting in a nice way. But there is diversity, and I'm sure I'm saying things which may be challenging for you. I'm seeing your faces, don't forget. But it's okay. I think I'm saying that because I know it's healthy and it's good, and I'm willing to be challenged myself, because also I'm exposing myself. I mean, I'm coming to a place that I know. I mean, I didn't know any of you. That's challenging. I'm just taking a plane to a place to meet people that I never met. So I don't have a clue what will happen. And that happens a lot. I'm going to a lot of places like that. I'm just invited. Of course, I'm trusting, and I'm not coming with any negative idea who might be these guys here, but I don't know. I'm open. And I'm sure I will be challenged in a healthy way, like to adapt, to adjust, to be empathic, to get to know you, and to adjust, but still I am who I am. So you also I have to adjust to me and adjust to you. I mean, so it's healthy. Imagine if just I come and I say all the things that you expect, all the things that you already know. I'm not interested in that. Even if you say, I want that, so I be inspired. I want Maharaj just to confirm all my opinions. It's like, no, that's dangerous. I don't want to be such an enemy of yours. Of course, I'm not coming here also like I will disturb all of you and challenge to the maximum. That's not either the idea, but that happens even if we don't try. No? Just by our own diversity will be different. And the thing is that internally we accept that. No, we don't like fight against that, or we are not afraid of that. We don't feel difference of opinion as a threat, because sometimes this mechanism get triggered. Like, oh, he's thinking different, saying it must be wrong. No, it's not legal. No, it's not bona fide. No, because it's saying the same thing but with other words sometimes. So even if it's other word, but it's just a word, just a form. No? So yeah, we all need to be put outside of comfort zone and see reality from different places. And if we are honest, at the end of the day, we will realize actually we share way more in common than what we thought. And they were more like superficial layers of fear and that got in the way. But when we are able to push them aside and open to this diversity, it's like, wow, I'm getting nourished by these differences of opinion. I need that. That's enriching my opinions, my thoughts, my feelings, and I can coexist with differences of opinion. As I say the other day, that will be existing in eternity. Remember the example I told you. We will say Krishna is the source of Narayan. But if you take a spaceship, so to say, to Vaikuntha, and you cannot go to Vaikuntha in spaceships, just in case, but you go there, and the inhabitants of Vaikuntha, the spiritual world, will tell you Krishna is an avatar of Vishnu. That's the spiritual world. We will disagree for eternity. But it's okay. It's Vaikuntha, free from anxiety. So try to imagine. They have this, that's a big difference in eternity. In Golok, they think one thing. You follow my point. So if we are not able to coexist here with differences and accept that, how we will go to a place where such a possibility is present? So yeah, it's healthy. So thank you for giving me also the opportunity to taste the local diversity here. Yeah.
Thank you for coming, Maharaj, and trusting us.
Thank you for trusting me, because I mean, for me, if someone invites me, it's also, I mean, they have done some research before inviting me about who I am, and if in spite of that they keep inviting me, it's like, okay, they trust me, or they're open to hear from me. So that's not a joke for me. It's not like it's a cheap thing. Okay, these people is inviting me. They're open. They're trusting. These people. I don't want to sound these people. No, I mean, these Vaishnavas are trusting, are open to trust. So that's delicate, because if you're open to trust, you are vulnerable. You're opening. So I can nourish that, or I can create chaos. And if someone is open to trust, and I deal with that in a wrong way, I can create trauma. So it's a very it's like if you're about to go on surgery and we are like open like that, you can save the person, or you can just kill them overall. So in the same way, when someone is open to trust, it's like, hey, this is a very serious moment, very delicate thing. How can I nourish, and not kill? And how can I open myself to the same thing? Because again, it's not just I'm coming here to nourish all of you. I come to be nourished as well. I need to be nourished. It's not just I'm just nourishing the whole planet and I don't need any nourishment. It's nonsense. So it's a reciprocal, mutual expression of love and trust. So thank you so much also. Excuse me for any, and you fill the line of dots with whatever word you want there. Excuse me for any disturbance and extra challenge, extra poking. No, but yeah, thank you. Still, it's not the last lecture, so we don't need to enter into the farewell tone. We can share a little bit more later today. So thank you so much. जय श्री सच्चिनंदन गौर हरि की जय, श्री श्री गौर नित्यानंद की जय, श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंद हरि वंश कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, गौर हरि बोल।